can't believe we didn't mention this yesterday, but Gabe Kapler was extended on Friday for 2 more years. He was going to be entering the final year of his contract in 2022, and so it made all the sense in the world to lock him up to an extension this offseason. In fact, it was one of their bigger priorities going into the offseason. So they get that done, and a lot of other things have happened that we haven't had a chance to cover because the offseason so far for the Giants has been kind of busy with all the procedural stuff going on. But the Giants made some roster moves. They made some waiver claims, actually 3 different players. And also they made some adjustments to their coaching staff with the departure of Donnie Ecker. So we get into all of that next on today's Locked On Giants.
You are Locked On Giants, your daily San Francisco Giants podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Giants Baseball, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Ben Kaspick, and on this show we provide daily episodes Monday through Friday talking about the San Francisco Giants in a way that's data-driven and rational, but also simple, passionate, and accessible to all. I'm a former contributor for the baseball statistics and analysis websites Beyond the Box Score and Rotographs. I've been podcasting about the Giants since 2015, and I'm a lifelong fan. Thank you for making Locked On Giants your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms. And as I said, coming up on today's show, we have a lot to cover, and this is in anticipation of tomorrow. Finally, we're going to have qualifying offer decisions. There were 14 players who were given the qualifying offer, Brandon Belt among them, and we're going to know one way or the other about all of those players, whether they accepted or rejected the qualifying offer. So that's coming up tomorrow. But for today, the first thing we absolutely have to talk about is the extension for Gabe Kapler. The reason I didn't talk about this yesterday is because I did kind of an emergency podcast on my personal YouTube account after that move was made. And so I kind of forgot that wasn't on Locked On Giants. So if you want to see that and any other bonus content, you can check out my personal YouTube channel, which I will link in the description below. But yeah, the Giants inked Kepler to a 2-year extension, of course, coming off this remarkable 107 win campaign in 2021. And the journey for Kepler has been a roller coaster, right? From the time he was hired, the initial reaction was not positive, to put it mildly. It was really negative for the most part, at least from what we saw in comment sections online and also some articles that were written, specifically some articles in the Chronicle that were really, really negative about Gabe Kapler. So he comes over, he hires this totally new coaching staff outside of Ron Wotus, everybody else completely new. That staff gets ridiculed a little bit, again, people just being super negative with every move that Kepler made, and including the hiring of Kepler. And it was a large staff, a staff without a lot of experience coaching at the major league level. But what they had was an ability to teach the latest tools that would help modern players, and also an ability to communicate. And what we've seen in the 2 years with Kepler leading the way is that his ability to find those coaches and bring them in, targeting those specific guys, was huge. I imagine all the time, how many extra wins did the Giants have because of Gabe Kapler and the ripple of decisions that he has made? If this was just a conventional old school manager with conventional old school coaches, how many fewer wins would they have had in 2021? And to me, it's a lot. And it started in 2020. The Giants were a great offensive team in 2020. There was just a lot of positive developments. Kevin Gausman, Drew Smyly also kind of broke out on the pitching side. And in 2021, I was cautiously optimistic about the team being able to do well, but I don't think anybody could have seen them doing as well as they did. And it's just in so many ways a testament to how great of a manager Gabe Kapler has been for the Giants. And yeah, so it was a 3-year contract initially. Of course, the 60-game season wasn't a full season, but it does count as a full year under that contract. And so he was 2 years in, and in 2022 would be entering the last year of his deal. And so typically you don't want a manager who has had so much success to go into a lame duck season. And so it was kind of just a foregone conclusion that they were going to get this done, and they did. So it's a 2-year extension. So Kapler now has another 3 years remaining on his contract, and it's just very well earned. Kepler has won over most San Francisco Giants fans, I would say, at this point. And it's not just the on the field stuff. I would say off the field, just the way he communicates, and he just fits in the Bay Area mold. Like he feels like it feels like he belongs here. And he even said that when he was meeting with the media after this extension, he said, "I belong here." And so congratulations to him. It's well earned. And congratulations to Farhan Zaidi, who we're going to talk about next. We'll talk about some waiver claims, but I also want to talk about Zaidi winning Executive of the Year. But the last point that has to be made when we're talking about Kapler is that Zaidi could have made a safe pick. He could have made a pick that was going to be popular with the fans and with the media. He did not. He made the pick he felt was right, and he deserves a lot of credit for doing that instead of just catering to what people wanted. Because at the end of the day, you're judged based on how you do on the field, like in a lot of ways. I'm not saying you should bring in awful people just for the sake of winning, but yeah, I mean, Gabe Kapler has done a great job on and off the field. So it turns out it has been a great hire so far. And I would say the way he manages too, I didn't even really mention this, but the pinch hitting, the lineups, it's very new school, and it's hard to argue with the results. And some people are still going to want to criticize bullpen usage. Maybe he's not the best in the game at it, but any kind of minor errors that he may have made with bullpen decisions, which of course it's easy to judge in retrospect, it's much harder to judge in the moment. And anyway, any small advantage lost by that is more than overwhelmingly overshadowed by all the advantages of everything else I already talked about. So coming up next, we'll turn the page. I want to talk about these waiver claims that the Giants made, and I also want to talk about the coaching staff turnover, some changes there, and Farhan Zaidi winning Executive of the Year. So a lot to get into, but first, we're back and better than ever. A new web interface for the start of the basketball season, and more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline remains your number one spot for all the basketball and football action this season. Head to our new updated desktop or mobile website to sign up today and receive a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit using our promo code LOCKEDON to receive your bonus. From basketball, football, NHL, boxing, and UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games, don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, here we go. We're going to talk about these waiver claims that the Giants made and so much more. These occurred either last week or the week before. It has been a while that it's been on our agenda, and we've just had so much to talk about. Thanks again for making Locked On Giants your first listen every day. We're free and available on all platforms, and we're Monday through Friday covering the offseason, and we have a lot coming up. Like I said, tomorrow is the deadline for players who were tagged with the qualifying offer to accept or reject the offer. I do just have to say, if Brandon Belt, say, rejects the offer, that doesn't mean he's not coming back to the Giants. It simply means he would be rejecting that 1 year, $18.4 million offer. And there's strings attached with the qualifying offer, and that's why teams do this. That's why players decide to accept or reject. There are some ramifications. So that's all coming up later in the week. Also, Giants have to protect players from the Rule 5 draft by adding them to the 40-man roster. That is coming up on Friday, that deadline. So a lot happening this week, so be sure to come back to Locked On Giants every single day. So the 3 waiver claims that the Giants made, they claimed outfielder Austin Dean from the Cardinals, relief pitcher Hunter Harvey from the Orioles, and left-handed pitcher Joe Palumbo from the Texas Rangers. And so all 3 of these players, of course, added to the Giants' 40-man roster. So their 40-man sits currently at 38, I believe. These are always, sometimes the team has to update us, and that's how we get the information about how many players are on it. And I'm using roster resource that says they have 38 on that 40-man roster. So the thing about, like I said, adding guys to the 40-man roster to protect them from the Rule 5 draft, that's upcoming this Friday. And also there are players that the Giants will potentially sign in free agency. So it's easy to see them blowing past 40, in which case we're going to have to see some guys designated for assignment. So just because the Giants claimed these 3 guys doesn't necessarily mean any of them are going to stick. But just to tell you a little bit about them, Hunter Harvey, probably the most interesting to me among these 3 claims. Right-handed pitcher, has pitched in parts of the last 3 seasons for the Baltimore Orioles at the major league level, and a combined 23 2/3 innings in those 3 seasons. But Hunter Harvey was a first-round draft pick in 2013, and the man throws hard. His average fastball velocity this season was 97.1. The year before that, 97.4, and the year before that, 98.4. So he's a fastball slider splitter, curveball slider. Actually, this year he added a slider to his curveball. So I guess 4-pitch guy, potentially fastball, slider, curveball, splitter. And yeah, I mean, he's got the pedigree of a first-round pick. He throws hard, and he's had some success at the major league level. And actually, when you look at the steamer projection for Hunter Harvey, it comes in with a solid mid to high 3s ERA and peripherals. So, like I said, he's added to the 40-man roster. I think he's technically assigned to the minor leagues, but he's pre-arbitration eligible, and he does have 1 minor league option remaining. And so I think of all 3, there may be the best shot that Hunter Harvey sticks, and he could be a part of the Giants' bullpen moving forward. And he could be a guy who goes back and forth between the majors and the minors. And that's an added bonus to the Giants, because if they believe in him, but there's just not room, or they believe in him, but the performance just isn't there for a stretch, being able to send him down is a benefit. When a guy is out of minor league options, you get stuck where you either have to keep him on your roster when you don't want to, or you have to designate them for assignment or trade them. So that's the situation with Hunter Harvey. Now, Palumbo, actually, let's talk about Austin Dean. Austin Dean has also had some recent major league experience. He had 22 games with the St. Louis Cardinals this year, 3 games in 2020, and played some with the Marlins in 2019, 2018 as well. And so he has 123 career games at the major league level. He is a right-handed outfielder with some interesting characteristics and ability to get on base, and just has some really good minor league numbers, including low strikeout totals to go along with the ability to get on base. So he is a kind of a line drive hitter as opposed to a home run hitter per se, but he is a somewhat interesting player here that the Giants have claimed, and he has a minor league option remaining as well. I'm not sure that I would expect him to stick around, but it's just obviously worth mentioning that the Giants made this claim. Now, Joe Palumbo is a left-handed pitcher. I may be mispronouncing that, Palumbo. I'm not entirely sure, but he also has major league experience with the Texas Rangers in 2019 and 2020 when he was getting a lot of strikeouts, strikeout rate north of 27%, 4 starts, 9 games total, just 19 innings pitched. Didn't have a lot of success at the major league level, had a 9.47 ERA, but some of the peripherals are there. I mean, that's a good strikeout rate, and his called plus swinging strike rate is decent. And yeah, I mean, Fangraphs had him ranked as the 8th best prospect in the Rangers system prior to the 2020 season. So he does have some pedigree. He is a former 30th round pick, so that's not obviously a very high pick. But there are some interesting characteristics here when we look at the ability to strike guys out. He is a fastball, slider, curveball, changeup guy, but he did ditch the changeup in 2020. So honestly, I don't know all that much about Joe Palumbo. We're kind of learning together here, but the Giants did place this claim, and he is a potential starting and relieving option for them moving forward, assuming he sticks on their 40-man roster. So, yeah, I want to turn the page to talking about Farhan Zaidi winning Executive of the Year and the Giants making some adjustments to their coaching staff. Donnie Ecker departed to go be the bench coach and the offensive coordinator for the Texas Rangers, and so that was a big loss for them. And so they did make a move to fill that void. So we will talk about that next. All right, as promised, we are going to get into Farhan Zaidi winning Executive of the Year first and foremost, and then these coaching changes. But Zaidi, yeah, I mean, this is an award voted on by fellow executives, general managers, and presidents of baseball operations. So it's voted on by his peers. So the fact that he won this year is just another stamp of approval or just stamp of recognition, feather in the cap, however you want to say it, for Farhan Zaidi. It's only the 4th year that Major League Baseball has presented this award, and the first winner was Oakland's Billy Beane. The second winner was Eric Neander of the Tampa Bay Rays, and then the third winner was Andrew Friedman of the Dodgers. So if you think about this, Billy Beane and Andrew Friedman have strong ties to Zaidi. So 3 out of these 4 winners are kind of really connected here. And then Eric Neander, of course, with the Tampa Bay Rays. So think about who these executives are. They're all executives for kind of smart new school teams. Beane, Neander, Friedman, and now Zaidi. And so Eric Neander was the runner-up this year, and Brewers president of baseball operations, David Stearns, finished in 3rd. So again, all 3 of those guys, executives for new school kind of teams that have had a lot of success, and Zaidi just the latest here. And so Zaidi said, quote, "It's really overwhelming to be in a position where your colleagues elect you to this award. Billy Beane and David Forst gave me my start, and I'm really grateful for that." And so, as usual, Farhan Zaidi kind of deflecting and being humble and giving credit to others. And so, yeah, I mean, it's very, very well earned. The job that he has done has been remarkable in San Francisco, putting together the best season in franchise history with this roster that people expected kind of on the optimistic side to maybe be 500. They finished with the most wins they've ever had in a season. I mean, that's just insane. And they had the most home runs at least in franchise history. I'm not sure if they finished first in the game. I think they were first in the league, certainly in the National League. So just an incredible achievement. They had great pitching as well. Just everything went right for the Giants this year, and it has so much to do with Zaidi, but also onto Kepler and the coaching staff. So switching our attention after giving heartfelt congratulations to Zaidi, we're going to switch to the coaching staff. And like I said, Donnie Ecker leaves. He goes and becomes the bench coach and offensive coordinator with the Texas Rangers. And by many accounts that I've heard, Ecker was kind of the lead guy there among that 3-person hitting group. And so it is a big loss, and one that I felt like the Giants were probably going to want to fill, like a hole they were going to want to fill. But it was always a question because they had three coaches. I mean, did they necessarily plan on bringing in a third to replace Ecker? And the answer was yes. And it turns out that one of their top priorities was to have a native Spanish speaker fill that role. So obviously needs to be a great hitting coach, but also a big priority, a native Spanish speaker. And that makes a lot of sense to me. There's a lot of Latin players in baseball, and you don't want any of those players to be left out of getting that really personalized instruction that these hitting coaches are able to provide. I mean, imagine if assuming you don't speak another language, if you go into another country and you've got these great hitting coaches, but they can't even communicate with you, like that's a big disadvantage. So I totally understand that. And the Giants' solution here is Pedro Guerrero, who was with the Phillies before moving over to the Giants. And actually, it was Gabe Kapler who initially hired Guerrero to be a hitting coach in the minor league system with the Los Angeles Dodgers when Kepler was farm director there. And I'm actually not positive, but Kepler may have also hired him to the Phillies when Kepler was obviously the manager there. So Pedro Guerrero, welcome to the San Francisco Giants. He is a young guy. I believe he's in his early 30s. I could be wrong about that. I really should have this in front of me. I read it all and I didn't take the most thorough notes, but he is a young guy and presumably right in line with all of these new school techniques that the Giants are teaching to their hitters. So Mark Hallberg has been promoted to third base coach. Additionally, to replace the departing Ron Wotus. Hallberg is Buster Posey's former roommate at Florida State University. And Taira Uematsu was promoted from being a bullpen coach, where he has served in that role for as long as I can remember. And he is now an assistant coach, and he becomes the first, I don't know exactly what the criteria is, but first Japanese-born coach, like full-time. I guess if you're a bullpen catcher, you're not a coach technically. So first Japanese born and raised full-time major league coach, Taira Uematsu. So congratulations to him. Maybe this is a move that helps them bring in the Japanese outfielder Seiya Suzuki. I have no idea. Probably has nothing to do with it, but maybe it helps, maybe not. I don't know. But I would love to see the Giants have more Asian players. They haven't historically had, brought a lot of players over from Asia when they've been posted. Tsuyoshi Shinzo comes to mind, but not a lot of others. So Seiya Suzuki, I know there's been some interest there, and we'll see what happens with that. But he is supposed to be posted soon, and he's a right-handed outfielder, which is a position that the Giants may be looking to fill this winter. So anyway, that was a lot to cram into today's show. Coming up tomorrow, I want to talk about these qualifying offer decisions that have to be made. There's also been a lot of movement on the starting pitching front in baseball free agency. And so we'll talk about what that means. The Giants are looking for a lot of starting pitchers. And so the fact that the market is moving quickly might suggest that the Giants are going to want to get involved and make a strike at some point in the near future. So we'll talk about that tomorrow as well. Once again, my name is Ben Kaspick. You can follow me on Twitter at Ben Kaspick. That's Kaspick. If you like this show, please consider rating it or leaving a review. It helps me out so much, so thank you in advance, and thank you to everyone who's done so already. I can't wait to be with you again tomorrow. Thanks again for listening. Stay locked on Giants.